Well,
Turn over just a little bit more. It's recording, but we just.
Oh, she's gonna edit this. Hey guys.
Way too much fun.
This is my first YouTube video.
It's our first YouTube video.
You guys can follow me on Instagram, Tatiana.Inese. That's TATIANA.INISE.
Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. So as you can see by the title of the video, we're talking about Teach for America, TFA. And I'm sitting with an alumni.
Yeah, all of that.
What is it called? Alumna? You went to an all-girls school.
Alumna. Okay, yes I did. I went to Spelman College. Yes, alumna. Yes, alumna.
Okay. So we're speaking with an alumni. Y'all know my story. I'm an alum also of the program, and so we'll go into that a little bit later, but I'm just gonna like jump into the questions with Tatiana, and she's gonna just give a little bit of background. What year were you a corps member? Where did you serve? Where was your teaching training at? All that kind of stuff. So let's give us the rundown.
All right, hi guys. I am a 2011 alumna of Teach for America. Yes, of Teach for America. I did my time in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, which was a blessing.
Exactly.
Because I went to Spelman College. Hey, shout out to Spelman. I went to Spelman College, and Atlanta was actually not on my radar at all. So I thought it was kind of interesting that I got Atlanta. I think it was probably God who was like, you need to probably stay your butt in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, which is really great. But yes, so I was in the 2011 corps. They kind of called it like the, I think it was like the 300, like it was a lot of us in Atlanta.
Wow.
But this was also the year that they had the Atlanta cheating scandal. So my first year in TFA was really crazy, guys. I'm not gonna lie, it was really crazy because on top of just have graduated from Spelman, the Atlanta cheating scandal just happened. So the school that I was originally supposed to be at was also under investigation.
Ooh. But for those who don't know, what was the cheating scandal? What happened? For those who aren't in education or, you know.
Okay, so basically what happened was, with their state testing, there were some schools that was under investigation for helping students on the state test. And based upon like the results that came back and all that, and I think a teacher had told, an administrator had told, that then a bunch of investigations started happening, and basically there were a lot of schools, I want to say like over 10 schools that were involved in the cheating scandal.
And it's a lot of pressure. I think people are like, oh, why would you cheat on the state testing? It's a lot of pressure. Like when you are as a teacher judged on how your kids do, if they show up to the class and they didn't eat breakfast, or they had a situation at home where they're upset and angry and they just not feeling it today, I mean, and you're judged on how your teaching skills are based on how well your kids perform. I mean, some people are pushed to extreme measures. Or if your school's gonna close, if you're not gonna have a job next year, funding, if your school's gonna get a bonus or a grant, I mean,
teacher pay,
it's so many things. So if you're probably like, oh, why did I cheat on the state test? Hold on, you know, like why would even an athlete take steroids? Right, like it's the same thing.
So I kind of segued that in because that was kind of like the start of like my teaching career. So here I am in Atlanta, and I was like in love with the school, and I remember going in, I'm like, okay, but then come to find out I couldn't be there. So there was a bunch of corps members who didn't have a placement, on top of like taking, I think at the time it was called like the GACE, it was like the Georgia Education Assessment, which took me, let me be real, y'all, it took me forever to pass that test.
So teachers have to be certified. You have to take state tests to be certified. So
what was placed on my heart was like, these kids need me. Like these kids need me.
Well, how did you? I mean, that's the first question. You know, did you always see yourself as a teacher? Actually,
no, and I think it was something that God kind of just pushed me to, because my idea was I was going to law school. Okay, and I think a lot of people, you know, when you talk to them, you'll be like, oh, I was going to law school. Especially some teachers, they'll say that I was either going into law or, you know, politics, things like that. And I really thought I was going to go to law school. And my senior year at Spelman, I was, you know, trying to go that route, but then TFA kind of fell in my lap. Okay, I mean, it was like I didn't think I was going to get in, guys. But what I realized is that all my life, kind of like it was preparing me for being a teacher. Every summer when I thought I was going to be clerking, or not clerking, but you know, internship at somebody's law firm, I actually wound up teaching at one of my old schools over the summer. So it was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's not what I wanted to do. Like, let me just say that I did not want to do it, but it was like, okay, it's gonna pay me. And I didn't realize that it was preparing me for the role that I am today. I am, you know, currently now. So I stayed in Atlanta, and then I actually wound up getting a job at a charter school. Charter school. Oh, so I thought I was gonna be in a public school, guys. I got placed at a charter school, and let me tell you, I'm gonna be real, it was the worst experience ever. As a first year teacher, and shout out to all my first year teachers out there. I know that it is difficult. Just hang in there, like, just hang in there. I am what, year 7, about to be 8.
Oh my God, you're a veteran. She's a veteran.
I'm a veteran now, guys. I'm a veteran, but it's still like every day feels like it's a new day for me, because I think as a teacher you still feel like, yo, am I really gonna, like, am I good at this yet? Like, no, you're always like constantly learning and growing. But anyway, so I was determined to stay in TFA. I wanted to like fulfill my 2-year commitment. So I got placed at a charter school, and it was very hard. I also started my master's program at Georgia State. That was also very difficult. I was trying to balance.
Now, is that something, because I feel like that sometimes can be, this is kind of question, I'm looking down at my questions, y'all. And don't look on my phone.
She's prepared, guys.
So that can sometimes be the worst part of TFA, is you're right out of school. For me, I think, I wasn't right out of school, but I had like a year of interning underneath my belt. So I was kind of like, ooh, I'm like, you know, a year older than everybody, whoop whoop. But still, teaching and going to school basically full time is sometimes like the worst part. Like, that's why I think your first year is the worst year, because you're not ready for that. And I think for me, that was kind of my worst period, because I was teaching for the first time, responsible for 30 lives. Like, you know, you're responsible for little people. Then you have to be responsible for yourself. You finally learn how to pay your own bills, all that kind of stuff. Now I gotta turn in assignments and do this in my classroom.
You're being micromanaged.
Yeah, you're being
observed.
You're being observed. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's like, a lot. And I think, honestly, to be very transparent, my first year was very hard. All jokes aside, guys, during lunchtime, I was in the teacher's lounge. I wasn't in my car. I was underneath my desk crying. And
she can fit. Y'all, she's tiny, y'all.
I was underneath my desk on the phone with my mom, like, every day. Mommy, I can't do this. I can't do this. And she's like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And my first year, I taught all boys. Can I say that again? I taught all boys. First year teacher.
But now that you're a veteran teacher, right?
Yeah.
You're probably like, all boys would be a little bit. Now, what do you think? Would you have taken like an all-boys school or all-girls school?
Honestly, I love my boys. I think after that experience, it taught me how to get very creative, because having a group of boys in a room, one thing I noticed was like they were fighting for my attention all the time. And they genuinely loved me, but it was hard because they all had different demands and needs. And I think I learned that boys and girls do learn differently.
They do.
So what helped me, once I started teaching both, you know, co-ed, I started noticing like, okay, what the boys need, the girls didn't really need. It's a kind of like a balance. But would I do it all over again? Absolutely, because I think it really taught me how to be creative. I learned a lot. And a lot of the stuff that I did with my students, it couldn't have been found in a textbook. It couldn't have been, a professor couldn't teach me. I really had to figure it out. And I think that's what made me a good teacher. Like, I figured it out. And I wasn't perfect, but once you close that door, it was like, all right, it's me and these boys, and we're gonna figure it out. So my first year was very hard. And honestly, my coach at the time, she was very proud of my growth, because I didn't give up. I didn't have much support at all. It was a new charter school. It was the first year. They were trying to figure it out. They didn't really know how to support their teachers, and they couldn't support me as a first year teacher.
And I think if you do get a lot of support, especially from your own coach, your school, you're lucky.
Yes.
Trust me, if you have somebody coming in your classroom every single day with a little clipboard, or going around telling kids to sit up, leaving little
oh yeah,
you better be glad.
Oh,
you better be glad.
Let's debrief after.
Debrief?
Like,
oh, I get this actual feedback.
Yeah.
You better be thankful, like, because imagine you could be in there just swimming out here blind, leading the blind, and not have anybody at all. And I think for me, I didn't have, that's what I missed my first year. So I didn't have a lot of support. And my bro like was there at that school with me in DC. I mean, he will tell you, Bianca, you came a long way.
You know what?
I came a long way.
No, let me be real with you. Honestly, when you can sit back and be like, you know what?
Oh, baby.
We came from something. And I'm gonna be real. Let me tell you how much of a G I was. So basically, I never forget, I got put on a performance plan.
Ooh, if you get put on a pimp, you about to get fired. If they put you on a performance plan, they want to get rid of you. They're about to fire you.
But wait,
you got put on a plan? I never knew about this.
I got put on a performance plan, guys. But here's the thing. Confessionals, right? Teacher confessionals. But here's the thing. Here I was new to this. So you're basically putting a teacher who doesn't know what they're doing. I did not go to school to teach. I was an English major. I was a double major, English, political science major. So
but why did you choose Teach for America? Because like you said, you were on the path to going to law school.
Yeah.
So why, and then you had done some, like you said, you did some summer experience of, you know, doing different whatever camps or teaching at your old schools and stuff like that. But why did you say, all right, yeah, I'll do this Teach for America thing?
You know what, honestly, they got me. I think after like doing my research and, you know, looking at videos and seeing like these bomb teachers, it was just like, wow. And I think what really sparked an emotion to me was that it reminded me of teachers that I had. And I always had like these young teachers who were very passionate about what they were doing. I know for me, it kind of took me back to like my summers. Was like every summer that I spent in college, I went back to my old neighborhood and I was teaching kids that looked like me, and I was helping them, and I was molding them, I was growing them. And I realized I would not have been the student that I am today, because I'm always a student, if it wasn't for the teachers that I had. So for me, it was like, wait a minute, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because it was like every year, let me tell you, every summer I thought I was gonna be at somebody's law firm, but it was like, you know, God has his own plan for me. It was like, no, I want you back here. So I really picked TFA because I really believed in a mission, and I thought that I was going to get that coaching that I needed. And you know, my coach, you know, she did the best that she could do, you know, with the amount of,
because they're fairly young. I think that is a growth area for them, and I don't know how they pick their coaches now, but I don't think you should be coaching anybody under, if you have less than 5 years experience.
Absolutely.
If you have less than 5 years experience, baby boy, like, no ma'am, no sir.
You know what, that's so crazy.
That'll be a growth area. You need, it's not, I think, until about maybe year 4, year 5 to where you really hit the ground running, and you're not staying up late going over lesson plans, or you get a kid who come in, you know, raising the roof and is one of your party starters, and you don't know how to necessarily put them on a plan and get them towards success, or to get them at least, you know, invested in your classroom mission. So if you less than 5 years, boo-boo, and you up here trying to coach somebody.
So funny thing that she says that. So listen, God had his hands on my life, because so with me being put in a performance plan, I basically created my own PD. Okay, so shout out, you know, I had to lean on, you know, a shield girl, Delta. Had to lean on Delta. So I actually called one, I had to call one of my pro fights, and she was a teacher, and she had been teaching already for like 12 years at that. So I called her. Let me tell you, thank you, April. So she literally took a day off, came to my school, stayed with me the whole day. When I mean she coached me, it was like I had that live coaching. I'm talking about, she helped me plan, she helped me like teach. Like it was to a point where I was teaching, she was like, hold on, watch me. And I was sitting there taking my notes, and it really helped me, because that's what I needed. And I think teachers need to see, you know what I'm saying? Like we even teach, you know, you don't want to talk at your kids all day, because you want the kids to do. You need your kids to be hands-on. That's the same thing with some teachers. I think we're all learners, but I think teaching is something that either you're good at it or you have to learn to be good at it. And one thing I learned was that I was good at executing. So if I saw you do something, I can execute it. But my area of growth was I had to learn how to plan. I had to learn how to look at this content and, okay, this is what I need to teach. So how can I plan a lesson where I can measure, did they learn it? You know, can they do it?
This one to be in the video.
She's gonna edit that out.
This will be edited out. What is something you wish you knew about TFA before you signed up?
That is a really good question, Bianca. Was the lack of diversity. And what I saw was there were a lot of young students who would join in, and there were also some career changers, you know, who were changing careers. But when I looked around, I felt so uncomfortable because there was a group of us, but then there was others, and I wish that I had more support, because I didn't know what that feels like. And we know going to HBCU, you don't really feel that. But I think once I did Teach for America, it was so weird for me to find, you know, let me be real, like white people who were in urban education making these decisions for our brown and black children. And I was just like, do they really get it? Do they really understand?
Now I will say about this, it's good when you find those who are not just doing Teach for America 2 and done. I'm 2 and done now. I'm going to law school.
And we see a lot of that.
And there's a lot of that. And I think that sometimes has given Teach for America a bad name.
Absolutely.
So because it's like, okay, I'm about to go teach my own, I don't want to be a part of the 2 and done. You only want to be here for a second and you're going to leave. And I got to add this to your resume. I didn't want to be that person. I think that's even something that helped me stay longer than what I even planned for. Because I thought I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I'm going to go to business school.
I thought the same thing. I thought, let me do my 2 years. I'm going to go to law school. But I think that
then once you get in there, like, they got you. They got you. You be seeing somebody that could be your niece, a nephew, and you like, dang, Keontae.
You know,
why you gotta be, you like Keisha, and they be calling you mom, you like my mom, I love you. And you give them a little Christmas gift, and they be dressed up for Halloween.
Speaking of gifts, I think the one thing that I feel a lot of times, even now, like even 7 years in, and people always ask you like, oh, what do you do? Like, I'm a teacher. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's so nice. I can do your job. And you know, I think teachers definitely don't get paid enough for what we do. But as I've, you know, gotten older, and as I'm still in the field, I realize like people do appreciate you for what you do, because it's very difficult. And you know, my mom is a social worker and a therapist, so she understands. And I have younger siblings, so you know, my mom's always like, you give a lot to other people's you know, children. You spend a lot of time with them. And you know, I'm always constantly telling people like, treat your child's teacher well, because they spend more time with your child
than you do. I'm with your child 8 hours a day. Okay, when you know what, when they get their first period, who's there?
Okay, I teach 3rd grade, so my kids are young. But okay, you know, when they got the snot running down, the fevers and all of that.
We there. We there. And yes, I'm saying we because I taught for 6 years. That's a badge. I have a badge of honor right here. That will never go away. It's like serving in the military. It really is.
It really is.
I feel like teaching is serving in the military. Like you really, especially if you teach in urban education.
And like, that's a difference.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Now, here's a shift for me. So here I was in Atlanta, where I feel like KIPP Atlanta did a really good job at being culturally responsive. So I expected, like, that was like my framework for KIPP overall. Okay, but what I realized when I came to KIPP DC, I didn't really feel that same connection. And like I said, how I felt like there was a lack of diversity when I came to DC, I was really by myself. And I felt that and I actually wrote my my paper on this in my master's. Sorry guys. For my master's, my thesis, I actually wrote about, I call it like microwave leadership. And what I found was that a lot of my leaders were very young. And I'm not saying that young people can't be in leaders, because I do have friends who are, you know, assistant principals and who have moved up into those positions. However, I feel like if we look back when our parents were in school, teachers and principals, they were always older people, right? And I think that it takes a lot of time to invest in your craft and get better at it. And I think now that schools are looked at as a business, so it's just kind of like the pipeline is a quick turnaround. So, you know, for me, I always felt like I don't want to just rush into leadership. I want to feel like I'm prepared for it. So when I came here to DC, it was another transition for me from being in a place where I saw a lot of brown teachers, brown and black teachers, and it felt really good because I didn't see enough of that.
You know, the time we came in, I came in 2009 core, and I think people had this perception of what a TFA teacher was, and it should be this and it should be that, but you have to have your own path. And I think like you said, going through so many different experiences of successes and failures, but keeping in the back of your mind, I'm doing this all for a greater good.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I'm impacting somebody's life, and if you are not ready to now put a thumbprint on somebody's life, don't do it. If you are thinking about applying to Teach for America and you are kind of like, oh, I don't know, don't do it, because you are literally taking a thumbprint and like putting it on somebody's brain and putting an impression on somebody's brain for the rest of their life. For the rest of their life, they're never gonna forget you. Think about the teachers that have been in your life. You remember that teacher who, you know,
actually
who was great, right? You remember the teacher who was like crazy acting, always had an attitude.
But you know what? Right? Actually, my shout out. No, honestly, my third grade teacher. It's funny I teach third grade. My third grade teacher, Mrs. Vasquez. If you're out there, thank you, like thank you. My third grade teacher, my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Lanat, like they were amazing teachers, and they were a little crazy, but I realized like I'm a little crazy teacher too, but it worked because when I look back on it, everything that they did makes sense to me now as an adult. And I feel like what makes me feel good is when I have my students still text me, or when I have parents still text me and call me and say like, Miss Shepherd, and it makes me feel really good. Like the boys that I taught, they're actually in high school, like they're graduating soon.
My first set of kids are in college.
And I think that makes me feel really good, because as much as you feel like you go home every day and you feel like you failed, or you feel like oh my gosh, like I did horrible today, you actually probably didn't do as bad as you thought you did. But those kids are going to remember you. They're going to remember you when you were tough on them. They're going to remember like when you had those hard, difficult conversations, because at the end of the day, it's like you're parenting these children. You're not only
and sometimes and realize, and I think that's also something that there should be more discussion about, possibly in Teach for America training.
Absolutely.
Is that you're probably parenting parents.
Yeah,
you know, and I hate to go there, but you know, you're gonna have, especially if you're teaching in an urban environment or a rural environment, because Teach for America is also in a lot of rural areas where people get married fairly young, or you know, they're just the way things kind of happen. You know, people have teen pregnancy, whatever. But you are oftentimes like a responsible figure for a lot of kids and parents. Like if you appear, you know, hey mom, dad, you know, Miss Keisha, you gonna have, I need you to read to little Johnny today. You know, again, depending on where they're coming from, and it's you're having to you're having to take on a lot of roles.
And I think too, like the one thing that I learned is like it's not for the weak and faint-hearted. Is that what people say? Like the weak-hearted people.
The weak-hearted.
Yeah, it's not for the weak-hearted people, because it's personal, and I think that's what people don't realize. Teaching is very personal, and it can be difficult, you know, but I think the joy that you feel is at the end of the school year when you realize how much growth your kids made and how much.
Or your older kids come back.
Yes.
At the end of the year when you're like, okay, you still made growth. It still doesn't sink in till like they're in, let's say, 4th grade, or for me it was 7th grade, and they come back and they're like, oh, Miss Holman taught us this.
Yes, or they're talking to the so good. And I now teach a diverse population of students.
Wow.
And last year was my first year teaching white students. And you know what? No, actually, no. Let me stop. Because one thing my father said to me. He was just
like, what are they like?
She's so silly. Cut it out. My father said
I don't know if I could do that. I need my class to be all black and brown.
No,
okay, I need my Latinas.
But you know, the one thing that I realized was that children are children.
Yeah.
And me having both sets, and this is literally this is my first year when Trump became president. So here I am, and what I realized is kids really learn to hate. That's not something that they're just born with. And I'm talking about, I've had brown and white kids like playing together and, you know, being friends and all that. And to me, it just shows a child's innocence, right? Because they don't really know any better. And honestly, it opened up my eyes, because all I saw was teaching brown kids. I didn't know what it was gonna be like to teach a white student. And I realized, like, I had realized that I was kind of enabling my own, you know, thoughts where I didn't want to talk to them a certain way, and I'm like, listen, y'all all getting it, y'all all acting crazy, everybody getting it, you know, and they'll be like, yes, Miss Shepherd, sorry, but it's just like I had to realize that if I was treating my one set of students different, my other set, it's like, well, wait a minute, what am I doing? I'm kind of like creating that space, and it's like that's not healthy, you know. But I would say for me, it kind of helped me as an educator, because I realized, like, it doesn't matter. Like, they all got issues. So, you know.
Trust. Yeah. The same party starter in John F. Kennedy, George Washington Elementary School is going to be the same party starter in Jesse Jackson, Malcolm X, Shabazz, Frederick Douglass Elementary School on 51st. Okay? It's going to be the same.
But you know what? And I think this is where, again, a lot of things helped me as I went through TFA. Going through TFA, you know, I kind of like learned more about like the politics in education. I started learning, you know, and that was very important.
That segues into last and final question.
Yeah.
What is the future of education?
Wow, she's asking really good questions, guys. Yeah, really good questions.
What is the future? Give us a little second to marinate. Now, I sent her these questions, y'all. She should have been prepared.
Okay, first of all, she sent it to me at the end of the day, and I still teach, okay? So this is after dealing with 50 kids, okay? No, 45. I'm not exact. 45 students.
What are excuses?
Ooh, she tried it. Okay, all right.
Romana. Look into the light. Look into the light. Are you eyeballing?
She gonna get somebody in trouble. You know, I think it's something that's gonna be forever evolving and changing. I think that sometimes I feel really sad, because I often question, are we doing right by these children? Yeah. Are we doing right? And even now, we have so many kids, special education, and students with emotional needs and concerns. Like, you see that a lot. And I think what's crazy is people think that students with emotional needs and behaviors is only in particular neighborhoods, but that's not the case. And for somebody who now teaches in a diverse population I can definitely say that it does not discriminate. The difference is the amount of resources that are available. The difference is the education that these parents have, because, you know, now I'm sitting in IEP meetings with educational advocates and lawyers and such like that, where in my past experiences, it would just be me and, you know, the SPED coordinator and the SPED teacher, and that was it. But now you have parents who know their rights and who are trying to fight for their children, but unfortunately some parents don't know. So I think the future of education is changing, and I think it's becoming more political. It's definitely becoming more political, but I think it's gonna definitely take some educators who are constantly fighting. And that kind of also segued into my long-term goal, where I feel like in educational policy, a lot of these people, men, white males, let's be real, who are making these laws have never been in the classroom. So I think we need more educators out there who are advocating for our students, even past educators, you know, who are advocating for our students for their needs and what they need, because only we know, because we are in it.
And I think that is the positive thing about Teacher America, is that because they, in the beginning, were choosing so many people who you're just, you know, maybe you're a leader on campus, maybe, you know, you had aspirations to go to law school or business school, so teaching wasn't your end goal, but because you're just a person who's always a go-getter, or a person who never gives up, you can't be in somebody's classroom and see what's happening on the front line and not take it with you for the rest of your life. It's literally like having, I want to compare it to like PTSD of a veteran who's been in war. But you go into, and I hate to compare our schools as a war zone, but where you're serving, these people need you. So
absolutely.
You're in a classroom, whether it's on a reservation somewhere in North Dakota, to where you're teaching, you know, Native Americans or indigenous people who, again, have their own set of situations going on, or you're in Baltimore City teaching a whole set of kids that got their situation going on. You cannot have taught there for 2 years and leave and go to law school and forget all that you've experienced.
Absolutely.
So I think that hopefully they have now like set this seed in so many different people who are in different facets now, that hopefully there is a new generation of lawmakers. Hopefully there is a new generation of people in business who are giving back, and you see so many different nonprofits.
And honestly, now that she said it, that's really interesting, because I think that reminded me back in TFA, you know, they always talked about like with your two-year commitment after, what are you gonna do? So I don't think it was, you know, some people who were like two and done, you know, I'm out. some of them did not do anything to give back to education, but there were some who were like, that did enough for them to say, okay, you know what, I still want to be a physician, but I see the lack of, you know, medical, I see a lack of, you know, healthy health in urban areas, so you know, I'm gonna open up my own clinic, you know. So it's just the idea of like, okay, so what are you gonna do with your experience, and how are you gonna help to advocate for education?
And that was a thing for me. It was so funny. My dad was like, oh, why don't you teach in, you know, this area or switch schools? And I just was like, again, once you have been in the Teach for America like system, or you've taught in urban schools, you just can't stop the fight. Like, I just feel like you can't. Even my last year of teaching, it hurt me. Like, I cried. Like, I really did cry. And I didn't want to leave my kids, and even, you know, keeping in contact with my friends that are teachers and all that kind of stuff. Like, you know, I miss it. I miss my kids. But for me, you know, I had to, y'all heard about the career change, so you already know the story. But you know,
I'm so proud of her. Like, honestly, I'm so proud of her.
You know, I had to, you know, go after my dream, but it was just, I felt just a sense of responsibility, just like somebody serving in the military or somebody doing Peace Corps. You just feel a sense of responsibility, like, to whom much is given, much is required. If I was able to get a 4-year education, if I was able to, you know, go to a great school and experience X, Y, and Z, I need to make sure somebody else can experience the same thing. You know, why can't I give that love to somebody else?
My journey in TFA was very different. I've had other friends who were very successful, and they stayed at their school and everything was great. But you know, I've had the opportunity to be at 4 different schools, I guess you can say, and I learned a lot, and I think TFA kind of helped with that experience. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I wouldn't. I think it definitely formed me and shaped me to who I am today. And like, I would recommend those who are considering to do it, and just know that it's gonna be a challenge. But I think it's like anything else. I mean, if anybody who goes to law school, go to medical school, it's gonna be a challenge. So
so last question. TFA taught me, I'll go first. TFA taught me to be selfless.
TFA taught me to be resilient.
Oh,
you like that?
True.
Yeah, it did.
All right, we're done.
Yeah. If you want to follow me, guys, follow me. I am Tatiana the Inese. That is TATIANA period INISE. And I really enjoyed this. Thanks, Bianca.
Yay!
You're so silly.